I understand that the winner has somebody who disagreed with some of my policies, and as a way of handling her disagreement, wrote a book about it, and it's a murder mystery, and I'm the first character who's bumped off in the book. Now, I love murder mysteries, but I've never been bumped off before. So I'm going to have to see, who is this person who wants to ask questions but writes a book in which I'm bumped off as the lead character. I'm going to have to ask her more questions than she's going to ask me. My
book's pretty lighthearted. You won't worry at all about your safety or your life when you read it. It's very lighthearted. I look forward to it. What happened was, it started with my husband owned a business, a bar. Yeah, it was just, it was challenging. We didn't like the property taxes going up. We didn't like this. We didn't like that. So I wrote a murder mystery about an unempowered person who murders politicians. And then
I'm glad you wrote the book instead of actually did it.
Oh my God, I would never. I started to really like you, and I started to actually listen to what you were saying rather than be like, stupid Miller and his stupid taxes. And then I listened and I was like, no, this guy really cares. This guy really he's in the politics for the right reasons. And so I actually came to really admire that.
So that's very nice. Thank you.
If you had endless power, like you could just stay and...
You mean if I had any power?
It's hard, isn't it? Like to know what you want to do and...
Yeah, well,
not be able to implement everything.
Yeah, well, I did my level best, and if you go back and look at my election platform from 2010, I've actually had the privilege of doing almost all of it.
That's great.
Well, for me it was simple. I ran for office because of certain things I wanted to achieve.
Right.
So when I got elected, and I told people what I wanted to do, I didn't, some people run for office and say, well, I'm going to promise a tax freeze, even though I don't believe in it, even though I know we can't afford it. And when I come in, I'll raise taxes. Right. And it creates a reputation that politicians aren't straight shooters.
Sure. I
didn't run for office to get the office and to have power. I ran for office to do things. So once I got in, I did them.
I guess what I'd love to hear is what does a green city look like? What do people do all day in a green city?
I think that's the most important part of that question. Because we know what it looks like, right? It's green.
Sure.
And that's sort of a boring answer to say, it's green. But that is part of it. There have to be great natural spaces. But the real question is, what do people do all day in a green city? That's a really powerful way of putting it. My imagination, first of all, you start with the idea everybody's a pedestrian in the morning. It's the first thing. You're a pedestrian. So the city needs to be built around the basic idea that people are pedestrians, which means a physical change to the city. Things like ensuring you have development near where people work, which we're doing in Toronto. We're allowing a lot of development downtown because people work downtown, they can walk to work. So that's a big part of it. So you got to have a walkable, livable green city in the sense of parks and nature, but then you also have to have one that its economy is green. And that's the part that nobody's done yet. Well, of course, Toronto's the global leader.
Really close?
We're the global leader.
Are we?
We're half close.
Okay.
But cities that I think embody those values are some of the European cities.
Yeah.
Berlin, maybe. Okay. So all the things I'm talking about create jobs.
Right.
All of them. And a lot of jobs, good jobs. Our country thinks of itself as a collection of provinces and a federal government.
Right.
But we're an urban nation now. Vancouver, Toronto, Calgary, Montreal, that's where everything's happening.
Yeah.
And we haven't grown up enough yet to handle that in a mature way.
Right.
Those cities need a share of the income or sales tax. And it will benefit the country. If we're green, Canada's green.
Yeah.
So they all make sense, but there's odd, historical, quirky reasons in the market why they haven't happened, and it takes a smart government intervention to make it happen. That's the biggest problem, because all the money goes to Ottawa and the provinces and doesn't come to the cities.
Okay.
It's very hard for the cities to do even the obvious things that work and save money because they just don't have the tax revenue.
I think a lot of people think that you have to spend money to save the environment, but actually you don't.
No, it's the other way around if you do it right.
Yeah, you're conserving both things.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's a pleasure. It was a real treat. Thanks.
Thanks. And thanks for your book. I'm looking forward to reading it.
You're welcome. Thanks for your book.
Absolutely.